Very sensitive microphone tonight. I'm liking it. Usually we have stuff a little bit quiet. Now we got a very nice sound. Very nice sound. Hello, everybody. How we all doing tonight? Very nice. Very nice. Thank you all for coming to our annual Rune Release reading. Tonight, we're all gathered here just because we're all artistic, like-minded individuals here to share a good piece of art, good piece of prose, poetry, photography, and art. So thank you all for coming very much. We all know what Rune is. Rune's our literary journal produced annually in the spring by all of our Robert Morris University students, including myself. I like our little description here. It says, the journal accepts high-quality creative work. So yes, the most high-quality creative work in tonight's issue. So, before we get started, we're going to get through some acknowledgments. All of our students, all of our staff worked very hard on this year's issue. So some acknowledgments to first start off. Big thanks to Dr. Frank Hartle, Interim Dean of School of Informatics, Humanities and Social Sciences. Thank you very much. Got him over here. As well, this definitely could not have happened without Dr. Heather Pinson, Department Head of Arts and Humanities. She deserves a hand. And of course, to all of our Rune staff tonight, especially our managing editor, Mackenzie Hill. We couldn't have done all this without her, so big round of applause to her. And as well, our faculty advisors, Dr. Edward Karshner. Where's he at? He's back there. Give him a hand. He's always helping us out. I'm tall too, sorry, it's like a... But yeah, tonight we have a nice lineup for you. After I speak today, we will have our special guest reader, and followed by our guest reader, we will have an open mic. So if you would like to read something, anything at all, or if you submitted a work and you have work in the journal and you want to read it, just go ahead to the back there, and you'll be able to read it tonight. We have a nice lineup. And without further ado, I hope you enjoy our reading tonight. And I will now introduce our very special guest reader, Natalie Seipolt.
I was thinking this morning about my time working for our lit journal when I was an undergraduate. I was on the staff, and then I was the editor my senior year. And that was a really important experience for me. And I also remember how stressful it was and how good it was when you finally got the product out. So congratulations. It looks like a really beautiful journal. So I'm going to read the title story from my collection, The Sound of Holding Your Breath. It is a little long, so I might cut off before we get to the end, and then you can buy my book and you can find out what happens at the end. I'm just kidding. I did bring some, though. But The Sound of Holding Your Breath. When Clint comes inside, I don't ask him where he's been. It's raining hard. A giant puddle has formed in our front yard, and some scrawny ducks have found it. I'm watching them out the kitchen window as they glide around and dip their heads down into the big mud hole when I hear the screen door thwack shut behind me. Hello, honey, I say. I hope he'll come up behind me, put his arms around my waist, and hug me close to him. The kitchen feels thick and heavy. I finger the tiny crucifix at my throat and say, still raining? It is. I think it never will stop this time, I say, and a duck pops out of the puddle and ruffles his feathers. He shakes like a wet dog. Better build an ark. Clint takes his wet boots off by the door like the good boy he is. I glance at him over my shoulder and see that he is shaking his head too, like a duck, like a dog, and little drops of water are flying all around the kitchen. His hair is getting long. You should let me cut that mop of yours tonight. It's starting to look pretty shaggy, I say, though I know he will not let me cut his hair. He is on pause, waiting. At first, I couldn't get him to eat or drink anything. He wouldn't shower or change his clothes. He just watched out the back porch door and waited. I finally convinced him that he had to act more normal, and if the police came down our drive, he had to be like his old self, or we'd be done for sure. I saw the lights early this morning while he was still asleep, our closest neighbor, It is too far away to see the cars, but in the dark early morning, I could see the red and blue flashing above the tree tops. I waited an hour until the sun was higher, and driving by on my way to town wouldn't look so suspicious. I left Clint a note. Went into the market, don't go out there today. I drove slow past Rob's place. It was like always, the house lopsided as if the right side was sinking into the ground. The white paint chipping off the porch, the old red truck and the nice little blue car parked out front. There were 2 police cars in the driveway, one of the old white Broncos that Sanders or Pete drove, and one of the newer, shinier blue cruisers from the sheriff's department. They were inside, so there was no way to tell the level of concern, who was taking what seriously. I imagine them sitting around the kitchen table, cups of weak coffee getting cold as Rob's wife, Tiffany, wiped mascara across her cheeks. His truck was in the driveway, but she hadn't seen him in about 3 days. I imagine Tiffany pounding the table with her tiny little fists, crying harder as Pete or Sanders patted her shoulder, and the deputy, whichever one had been unlucky enough to be sent all the way out to our tiny, skinny dirt roads, squirmed uncomfortably. Tiffany didn't understand. She never could, because she came here already grown. You have to be here from the start, born out into the dirt and the woods and the mountains and the close inside feeling, like me, like Clint, like Rob, to really know. Some days I feel off my axis, wobbly or spinning, but today I feel sharp and clear. I don't know how to explain the quiet here except to say that there are chirping birds and leaves rustling, but the loudest sound is the nothingness. The house has been in Clint's family for generations. It is tall and has those windows in front that look like eyes, always watching you. Just like it took a big breath and is waiting to breathe out, if only I'd get out of the way. Maybe that's the way to describe the quiet. It's the sound of holding your breath. The quiet is a little less when Clint is here. This morning when I got home and Clint was gone, the house stared at me in the breath-holding way. I went inside, slammed the kitchen door, and almost immediately the sky grew dark and the rain came hard like bullets. Rob grew up in that lopsided house out the road. His daddy worked a dirt farm most of his life, worked himself to death to try and raise a little corn, a little patch of beans and tomatoes, baking his brain in the hot summer sun to cut the hay for his few skinny cows. He died the summer I turned 13. Rob was friends with my older brother, Patrick, and his daddy had paid Pat $1 a day to help in the hay fields. Rob was over at our house a lot that summer. He and Pat would walk down to the creek out back to fish or catch crawdads. I'd follow along when they let me or when they didn't see me. Sometimes Rob's older brother would drive us out to Flat Rocks, a swimming hole where the water ran over smooth rocks, creating perfect natural water slides. I was never graceful like my brother or the other boys. I was always a little too fat, a little too clumsy, and would end up falling before I was ready, slipping and bruising a knee or an elbow. The water collected in a whirling pool at the bottom, and our bodies would bash together. The boys would push each other under. I'd bob around and splash until I felt a hand on my ankle, knee, thigh. Then I'd scream and kick. I was the only girl, but I didn't feel different. I was included, and that's all I ever wanted. When Rob would snap the strap of my swimsuit, I'd squeal and try to punch him. That year, Pat had a job bagging groceries at the market, and Mom and Dad worked until 6. I don't know how Rob knew that I was home alone, but I guess when you live in a place like this, everybody knows everything. The first time he showed up, he said he was looking for Pat. He was 16 then, and his mom let him drive the farm truck. He didn't come every day, but just about. And if I ever told him to leave, I can't remember. Rob started asking if I wanted to go swimming, and he'd tell me to put on my bathing suit, but then we wouldn't go. He'd look at me and say something like, "When you gonna lose that baby fat, Marley?" He'd want to watch TV or play Monopoly. He'd sit on his side of the table and I'd sit on mine. But then he'd tell me not to waste my time changing my clothes. Then sometimes when we were watching TV, he'd put his hand on my knee. When he started asking me if I wanted to go back into my bedroom, I'm sure I said no. I didn't cry, but once I bit the inside of my lip so hard it bled into my mouth. I think I said no. Good and bad can be so close together. We are all always brushing up against the line. Evil doesn't exist. The evil thing is just the quick other side of the beautiful thing. It's the mouthful of blood next to the boy's hand. I'm going to skip. So, essentially, she kind of has kept track of him as they grew up, and he found a city woman to come back and live with him named Crystal. And I have a lot of pages, so I'm going to skip through most of them. So, Rob shows up at Marley's house. And he's knocking on the door. Also, his wife has come and tried to make friends, but Marley wasn't interested, and she left a cake there for her. I opened the door just as Rob lifted his fist to pound again, stopping just before punching me in the face. I flinched but didn't jump back. "I come for Mama's cake plate," he said again. It had been a long time since I'd really seen him up close. His dark hair was cut close to his head, but I could tell that it was starting to thin. His face was skinny, and the skin looked stretched tight, tiny lines around his eyes and mouth. Nose, cheekbones, chin, all sharp angles. "You didn't have to try and bust the door down," I said. My voice cracked, and I felt as though these were the first words I'd said in a long time, in years maybe. "I wanted to make sure you heard me, since you didn't seem to ever hear Tiffany when she came by." "Maybe I wasn't here," I said, and took a step out the door. Rob took a step back. "I expect you were, hiding in there like some little kid." "Why would I do that? Do you think I'm afraid of your little girlfriend? I never asked her to come out here in the first place, you know." "Wife," Rob said, almost spitting the word at me. He took a step forward, and I did not back up. "Tiffany is my wife, and I got sick of seeing her come home sad because you wouldn't answer the door when all she was trying to be was nice." I felt slapped. Being called stuck up was about the worst thing you could be called. It meant you were full of pride, felt better than your neighbors, above your raising. "You best watch what you say to me, Rob James. Don't push me too far." "Is that supposed to be some kind of threat? You don't even know me, Marley." Rob laughed, a mean little laugh, just to show how unafraid he was still after all these years. It was like no time had passed. "I sure knew you once," I said, my voice low. All the parts of me were colliding. I couldn't stop them. I was anger and wickedness, fear and open, pulsating need. "Christ almighty," Rob said, "that was 100 years ago. We was just kids." "I was just a kid," I said, "and if I told wifey the next time she comes snooping around, I bet that's how she'd see it too." Before I had time to think, Rob had grabbed me hard by the shoulders and pushed me up against the wall. In his eyes was a darkness I remembered, and I knew he wasn't so different, wasn't so changed from the boy who told me to put on my swimsuit, who left finger-shaped bruises on my pale, fleshy thigh. "You always were crazy," Rob said, his face so close to me now that I could feel his moist breath on my lips. His grip on my arms hurt, and I tried to push him away, but he held me fast, shook me a little so that my head bounced off the wall. "Watching me, asking about me, you think I don't know? I always knew what you were up to." "Let me go," I said. "I love my wife," Rob said, now nearly breathing into my mouth. "You leave us both be. You hear me?" "You did this," I said, pushing my face so close to his that our lips nearly touched. "You connected us, can't undo it now." I latched onto his lip, biting him hard. I tasted the blood again, his blood filling my mouth, his rubbery flesh between my teeth. Rob screamed the sound muffled from my bite, and released me. His arm lifted, and he slammed me across the left side of my head. I fell hard on the splintered porch, my ear ringing and on fire. Then Rob was the one moving through the air, his eyes wide as Clint pulled him backwards by his collar. Rob was tall but skinny, and no match for Clint's strong arms. "What the hell," Clint said as Rob whirled around to face him. "Whoa," Rob said and put his hands up. Then I started to scream. I don't remember what I said. It could have been something about Rob, about touching my thigh, holding me down, swimsuits. It could have been about 20 years ago, but Clint only heard today. And I screamed and screamed. I couldn't stop screaming. I do believe that we were put on the road to this moment a long time ago, and there was nothing that could have stopped it from happening. Ever since that day at Flat Rocks when a boy accidentally touched me under the water and could not stop touching me. Every day had been leading to this. It had to be so. How else could you explain the push? Nothing more than a hard tap on Rob's shoulders that sent him over the edge, that sent him over the edge of the porch. His arms windmilled, he disappeared. Clint stood on the edge, staring down. I finally stood and came up behind my husband, who could already tell the truth. People survive amazing accidents all the time. They fall from silos, get thrown through windshields. They get shot and stabbed and nearly drown, but they live. Rob fell from our front porch and landed just right, his head bashing against one of Clint's mother's ugly lawn statues, a little stone girl holding a water can. Rob was not moving, but he was not just knocked out cold. His eyes were staring upward. There was blood on the little girl. "Shit," I said. "I'll call 911, Clint said and started towards the door, but I stopped him. "You can't." "Marley, I got to." "Why? What is done, and you getting locked up isn't going to help any of that." "But I had to," Clint stammered. "They'll see he was hurting you." I shook my head and put my hand on Clint's face. He was crying. He was a little boy. I kissed him, forgetting that I had Rob's blood still in my mouth. You can't, Clint, they won't understand." Clint was shaking, crying harder and harder. I never could stand to see a man cry, so I pulled his head down to my shoulder. "We'll take care of this," I said. "It'll be okay." I'll stop there. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Mackenzie. I'm the managing editor of Rune this year. I just wanted to say thank you to Natalie for joining us. It was great. Next we're going to do an open mic segment, so stay tuned very shortly. Yes? Okay, do you want to do that before the open mic or after? Okay, you can do it now. Feel free.
Mackenzie is too modest. The award goes to her. So, this is the J. Stanton Carson Scholarship is awarded annually to a Robert Morris student who's an excellent writer. Awardees are chosen by the Robert Morris English Department for their ability to write in poetic and transactional genres, especially poetry and nonfiction. Special consideration is given to those candidates who have worked on the RMU literary journal, Rune. The award is a $1,200 scholarship. This year's winner is Mackenzie Hill. I have not worked with or taught Mackenzie Hill, but I know a little bit about her from the terrific reputation she's built here at Robert Morris. She is an English studies major minoring in professional and creative writing. Mackenzie has been described to me as intelligent and diligent, who has also taken on a number of leadership roles, for example, as president of Sigma and director of Lit Out Loud. Her effectiveness as a student and Robert Morris student leader has been previously recognized in her winning the Jan Kenton Award, the Thomas Marshall Award, and this award last year. This year again, Mackenzie has been an exemplary managing editor of Rune, increasing staff, running efficient meetings, and gaining consensus. It's an honor for me to recognize such a deserving student with the Carson Award. Mackenzie, congratulations. Congratulations, Mackenzie. I could kick off I could read my poem and kick off
The open mic?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is pretty sneaky. I'm going to kick off the open mic by reading my poem, which is on page 13 and 14. But Mackenzie and I have decided that we're not going to read page 13. We're only going to read page 14. It's called Watching Wasps Die. In the fall, from my desk in my Morgantown apartment, when dying was distant, what they did on TV, what my grandfather had done, I enjoyed watching wasp agony. They deserved it. After all, they'd invaded my sun porch, making it unlivable, almost impossible to get my mail, even attacking me in my apartment. I started to write then. First notes, then jokes, then poems and stories. No plan, just winging about until something hurt. I avoided that pain at first and stopped. But looking out my window, watching those wasps curl and hollow in death, I learned that whether turning a lancet attack out or somehow self-wound in, the stinging time is a short summer. I have lived long since then and regret my pleasure in those wasps dying and learned to respect others and better use my own stylets before winter. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's Ashley Stebbins,
And I'm Caitlin Barnes.
and we're going to go ahead and start with the open mic portion. So we're going to start by letting our Robert Morris students who want to read. So would you like to go ahead and pick one of these?
Yes.
And then we'll get started.
Okay. Cheyenne Nelson.
Hello, thank you. I had a feeling that was going to be me too. Okay, I wrote a kind of a poem called The Other Side. When I'm trying to fall asleep, I make myself believe that I'm next to somebody who cares about me, loves me. Or I make myself believe that on the other side of waking up tomorrow, I will be given the presence of someone who cares. I wish the other side was a reality and not something that I have to fantasize about to make myself calmer before bed. I wish I was on the other side.
This poem is called To Be Human. He built a home in my stomach, in the valley where my heart falls into 4 or 5 times a day. He planted a garden in my throat until one day I began to choke on the weeds he left behind. I am still naive, but I know love doesn't look like escape, like a sojourn or a hotel stay. He wrapped red thread himself around my smallest finger and tried to call it fate. I can still feel the pull of him late at night when my heart falls deeper into that valley. Ivy grows around the windows, dandelions scatter the lawn, the windows are shut. But humans aren't built to be homes. I am softer than mortar and stone. See my hips, how they twist, my toes crack and wriggle in my shoes, my hair a fragrant fountain, my hands a testament of affection. See the coiled arch of my back and the wild green in my eyes. I am not built to be a home, not to men who miss their mothers or friends who are poised to run. I am not a field for pitching tents or laying brickwork. In the chasm between teeth there is a voice. In spaces between lungs there is love. He built a home in me. Board by board and brick by brick, I am learning to unmake it. I am learning how to be human again.
Unfortunately, I'm short. There it is again. God, I just want to be rid of it. It doesn't necessarily look bad. It would look perfect on another. But it's just not me. There's no undershirt, that I have, so the straw-like fabric is flush with my flesh. It's an orange red, like a thick tomato soup. I would look so much better in a bluer red. The collar is too tight and high, giving the illusion of a chokehold. I look shapeless. It doesn't look like me. My parents say that it suits me. I think they just like it because they bought it. And of course, I hear the sound of the sweater again, just like every day. Emily.
This is on page 31 if you wanted to follow along, titled God is a Woman. I believe God is a woman, and not because of third wave feminism. I believe God is a woman because your presence is much, much too holy to only be angelic. I believe God is a woman, and not because of religion being far too nuanced. I believe God is a woman because the thought of touching you, feeling you, hearing you is heavenly. I believe that God is a woman because if I cannot worship you the same way I was brought up, to look at the sky and praise the new day, I would feel like a sinner.
I am not a Robert Morris University student. My poem was written at a time last summer when I had just gotten a series of job rejections, so my nerves were a little bit all over the place, and this is what came from it. It's called Trust Fall. Balanced on the edge of exposed nerves, aching to be seen, to be understood, yearning to live a single moment in quiet clarity. Staring into an abyss of what ifs and why nots, taunted to trust the timing in this divine design, wondering what would happen if I just let go and set myself free. Am I afraid of falling, or is it flying that I fear?
I'm also not a Robert Morris student. My poem's on page 44. A week of cake. This was the week of treats. Ruth and Anita visited from New York bearing babka, chocolate swirls, dark and strong. Andy came back from England, thanked us for moving her car, gave us an English candy bar. Stacy stopped by with blueberry muffins, couldn't stay, explained she'd baked them using the cookbook I gave her. This week of cake reminds me of my grandmother, who baked every day, sent pinwheel cookies to teachers, gave them to delivery men, a currency of kindness. After so many months, just to have friends come to the door, a shower of gold.
My piece is on page 66 if anyone would like to follow along. This is called A How-To Guide to Growing Up. Step 1. Look at your room in disgust. Matted stuffed animals litter the floor in your bed. The felt swan head that hangs over your bed, which is adorned with pink unicorn sheets, now feels juvenile. The white curtains with pink ruffles that your mom made for you when you were 3 are now fraying and covered in dust. The mint green toddler dresser that sits across the room is scratched and chipped on every corner. Its drawers sit ajar from overflowing clothes, the majority of which you've now outgrown. On top of the dresser sits a collection of knickknacks that you've either bought or received as presents over the years. A Russian nesting doll here, a piggy bank there, and so on. The place is a mess. Step 2. Make the ultimate decision to grow up. You're in 6th grade now, so things will have to change. No more knickknacks, no more useless stuffed animals, and no more baby furniture. As you walk towards your dresser to get started on cleaning the overstuffed drawers, you glance out your window. Your neighbors, who are significantly younger than you, are outside playing with foam swords and makeshift battle armor constructed from bike helmets and tinfoil. You begin to turn on your heel to go ask your parents if you can play with them, but you then remember the decision you made. Part of it includes no longer playing silly games with little kids. Slowly, you close the blinds, the sunlight disappearing, and stroll away to begin your journey to maturity. Step 3. Run downstairs and grab all of the garbage bags you can find under your kitchen sink. You end up grabbing 3 humongous black Glad bags that can fit your entire dollhouse inside. That's another item you'll have to consider storing. You start off by crouching in the small corner space near the striped beanbag filled with stuffed animals. It was the only way you could keep and store all of them, and it would hurt the animals' feelings if you got rid of them, right? The second you manage to unzip the overstuffed beanbag, it's supposed to fit everything, yet you manage to prove the company's claim wrong. All of the animals tumble out. There's a giant brown spotted horse that you bought with your birthday money at Toys R Us, a blue teddy bear holding a heart with the word love embroidered on it, a heap of Beanie Boos, and that's only the beginning. As you dig deeper, you find your mom's worn and torn stuffed animals from when she was a kid that lived in your grandma's basement for 20 years. A tiger, a matted lamb, etc. Your mom wanted her to get rid of them, but you decided to take them off of your grandma's hands. Mom was not happy about the new addition of stuffed animals to your room. Along with her toys are ones from when you were a baby. A purple bunny, a lamb, a rabbit with a nightcap that recited the Lord's Prayer when you pressed its stomach, and many more. Step 4. It takes an hour and a half to clean out the stuffed animals. In the end, only about 25% of them have been placed in the donate pile, 25% in the maybe pile, all of which you know you'll end up keeping, and 50% in the keep pile. Each stuffed animal has made its way to the donate pile, is given a long explanation about how they deserve better than you and how you'll always love them. You imagine that they understand and accept their fate. It's basically a breakup, but with stuffed animals. You proudly show your parents the one full garbage bag, and as much as they would like for you to get rid of all of the stuffed animals, they'll take this as a win and a step in the right direction. You pick up the now heavy garbage bag and heave it into the hallway next to all of the other donate items. Clothes, old decorations, making the decision final. Step 5. Over the span of a year, you do your best to continue growing up. Your parents agree to transform your room into a teenage sanctuary. The mint green dresser is now gone and replaced with a sleek white design with multiple sliding drawers. The curtains are swapped out with artsy watercolor drapery panels. The swan head is taken down and replaced with a wooden oval flower painting. The wall behind your bed is now covered in spotted wallpaper. Pictures of Harry Styles, typewriters, and swimmers now cover the walls. A pink eggshell chair now sits where the beanbag used to be. The biggest difference, though, no stuffed animals on the floor. Over the span of a few months, all of them have made their way to the donate pile. Now only 7 of them sit on your new pink comforter. The neighbors knock on your door every day, but every time you say no. Eventually, you get tired of them knocking and stop answering the door entirely. Why can't they understand that you're too old to play with them? Step 6. Another year passes as you go through the motions of life. Eat, attend school, do homework, go to swim practice, sleep, repeat. One day, after school, your black Mercedes pulls into the long blacktop hill that acts as your driveway. After another dreary day of being a teenager, you scroll on Instagram and pay no attention to the outside world. That is, until your parents tell you to get your nose out of your phone and get out of the car. You put your phone into your pocket and look out the dashboard window. In the yard next to your house, the neighbors chase each other with plastic lightsabers, swing on the playset, and tumble down the slide. They laugh and smile and pay no attention to your car pulling into the driveway. They don't ask you to play like they used to. In fact, they don't even glance over at you. Instead, they pretend that you don't even exist. For some reason, you feel upset by the fact that they don't acknowledge your arrival like they used to. For a second, you feel the urge to drop your backpack and run straight over to them to play. But this thought comes with a reminder. You can't play with them anymore. You're too old. Reality strikes you like a hammer to the head. You've missed your chance. The neighbor kids and the stuffed animals have accepted that you've grown up. So why can't you?
There we go. That's good. All right. My name is David, and I'm a photographer. So this picture on page 51, top of the page, Student in the Mist. So last year, I came here to reading. That was my first year being here. And I thought, how can you do a reading of a photograph? And Heather was there, poking me in the back, poking. You should get your name in. You should get your name in. Get up there, do a reading. So this year I put my name in. So here's the reading. So the theme this year was the best camera is the one that you have with you. And when I was an undergraduate, I was on the yearbook, I was on the newspaper, and I carried my Nikon F2 around with me everywhere. And so I had that good camera with me all the time. Well, this year, I walked out of Hale one day, and it was foggy. It was like so great. And I was like, oh my gosh, this atmosphere is so great. I wish I had my good camera with me. And I didn't. I had my little iPhone. This is a 10 mini, or 12 mini, I guess it is. And I said, well, I'll just use the camera that I have with me. So I just started taking photos. And it's just like, here's a picture. And then the student walks by, and it's like, oh, this is great. And so I just shot photo after photo after photo until I got this one. And so serendipity walked in, and I happened to get a really good photo. So the best camera is the one that you have with you, and that's my reading of a photograph.
I'm also not a student here, in case anybody didn't guess that. My poem is on page 20, if anybody wants to follow along. The only thing I probably should explain about this poem is, in number theory, a perfect number is a positive integer where the sum of all of its factors is equal to itself. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 is equal to 6, or the first perfect number. 6 breezes swoop down from the hill, ruffle the edges of clouds. 6 birds startle, fly in the formation of samsara. 6 spheres of existence spin into shape overhead. What is cursive in this space? What is a straight line? A pomegranate curtain hides the number of the beast 6 fathoms down. The symbol of Venus calls to the Magan David with 6 cents. 6 virgins relive the miracle of Cana, where 6 stone jars forever turn water into wine.
Okay. My poem is on page 32. It's titled Heroin. It's only harm, yet rushes of relief is all you see, and shove the nameless hurt inside your veins, allow it lead your life on reins, and make you think yourself unloved. Engrossed by toxic poisons pave a way for doom inside a grave. You think it gives you self-control. It's only harm. Today it's far too late for change, already lost inside derange. I sit beside your grave and speak, retaining times I miss and seek, and now the silence feels so strange. It's only harm.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My poem is on page 21. Teachings of a Derelict Property. The ground is not where you think it is. Weeds persist, and while pulling weeds, you can view their will to inherit as a human quality select humans feel called to eradicate in the rest. You can imagine, too, the bulk of humanity in a struggle to uproot oppression, stay vigilant against tendrils. The older humans who built steps now collapsed several inches below did not intend this dark soil with its earthworms, glass shards, pill bugs, ropes of red carpet fiber. You can rake and sift, save it in 5-gallon buckets to use elsewhere. Thank you.
Hi. I'm just jumping up here. I'm Heather Pinson. I'm the Department Head of Arts and Humanities here at Robert Morris. Thank you. Appreciate it. Just wanted to say thank you all y'all for coming out today, but I really wanted to give a shout out quickly to our editors. Can I have all of our editors and associate editors for Rune? Can y'all please stand so that we can give you a round of applause? Thank you. Look around the room, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, y'all too, Amber and Sarah. Yes, thank you. We had over 15 editors as being part of this. We just wanted to appreciate all the work that y'all have done. Mackenzie has led us well, and we've gotten this done. A particular thanks also to Amber and Sarah up here in the front because they made the cool design that looks like the hand. Yes, thank you. Giving them applause. And they appropriated the correct font, as Professor Hyla Willis was in the back, was very proud of, and also designed and helped put together the sub parts and the layouts of it. We also would like to thank having all of our guest speakers here today. Thank you, Dr. Ed Karshner, for working on this with me for this past year. Stephanie Seipold, thank you for being our guest speaker here for today. One more round of applause for you as well. Thank you, Natalie, for being here. And Dr. Jay Carson, thank you for being here for today, too. Do my editors have any other last comments you would like to get up and say?
I just wanted to take the chance to, because we had such a great group of editors this year, and just thank the individual groups, because something great about Rune is there's always something, even if you're not an English major, for you to do. Dr. Penson pointed out, Sarah and Amber are graphic design majors, so they did our covers, but also just looking at we had communications directors this year with Lucas and Isabella. They focused on our emails, which is a huge part, behind the scenes stuff. Our design managers, Sarah, Amber, but also Ashley, and Mackenzie Wilhelm. Also wanted to thank our layout managers, which make all the decisions, how the table of contents will look, how we'll organize things. That's Jaden, Michaela, and Emma. And our production manager this year was Amy, which just goes into a lot of what you decide, print services wise. Our event media and publicity managers, so Paige, Milena, Ashley, and Audrey, and then a specific shout out to Ashley with the Instagram. If you guys have been on the Instagram, it is amazing this year. And same with Paige and Audrey have been in charge of our TikTok, which is a new endeavor we've been working on. So please follow us on Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date with what we're doing for this year and next year. And then I wanted to thank our circulation managers, Amy and Em, who were working to pass out the magazines tonight. And then finally, our associate editors, which we all get to play a part in, but deciding what we include in Rune. So Caitlin, Gavin, Lily, and Christian. But that's it. I just wanted to thank everybody for turning out. I mean, there's so many people here. I don't know if we can keep having this in this space, but this is amazing, and thank you all for coming.